Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Writing the Tree, um, part two. And we went through in the last video. We went through the steps that I did for a Maymester novelette writing class. 18 days, 4 class hours a day, 4 to 10 hours of homework a day plus the weekends. Um, it was crazy. The goal was 15,000 words. In that very short period of time. And so the way this writing the tree system works is first you start with a character. You start with a set of characters. You discover your characters. You build your world that becomes your roots, and so you have the characters. Um, on day one is just all about finding your way around your world. On day 2 through 10, which was the next 2 weeks of class, our professor had us just writing scenes, interaction scenes, action scenes, fight scenes, romance scenes, everything you can think of that your character groups might do together, just write it down. Day 11 through 14 was to put the scenes into story order by laying out the pages on the floor, on desk area, and to create the plot. We also wrote on pieces of paper, write fill scene here, put a car chase here, put a phone call here, and laid those out. Then we stacked them all back up and put them back into our 3-ring binder. Uh, Day 15 and 16 were to hunt down and fix the continuity errors, to fill in the plot holes, to write the merges between the scenes so that they made sense. Because you can't have an apple on an orange tree, and you can't have the end of the, like, if you have a leaf group, you've got your branch that's got your leaf group with a group of chapters in it, and you can't have a chapter on this leaf group if the events in this chapter are over here on this leaf group. So they're on this plot branch. So that's what we did there. Day 17, we kind of traded chapters. Everybody kind of beta read a little bit of everybody's and gave an opinion. Day 18, typed everything up, made 5 copies. We turned it in day 18. We took other people's copies and read them and wrote rough critiques. Um, it was a, it was so hard. I think the hardest part was because we were doing everything so fast. There was so much stuff that got left out. And you're trying to weave stuff together to make sense. I mean, I put all my effort into it. I really, really tried hard. But there were some people that their works were just sets of scenes that were just not a story. It was like a collage. It was like, or a play maybe, this is a scene, this is a scene, this is a scene. Um, I once I got my filler all written and my plot run through, um, I had enough for 2 according to the 15,000 word count. Um, I got a B plus. I was very happy with it. I did not expect to do that well. Um, uh, it it was an interesting experience at a time when I had no interest. That was literally the last creative writing thing I did. Literally after that, I was writing thesis papers and scientific stuff, and that was it. That was I didn't creative write again until I guess after my stroke. So I went 31, 32 years without writing. It was um, I don't know. I never imagined myself that I would be writing as a living, as a way to recover from my stroke, as a way to cope. But here I am. I thought what I would do in this video is Um, I'm going to put up the steps once again so you can read those. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through a method, one of the stories that I plotted out um, that I haven't got to write yet. So we'll read the steps and then I will start talking to you about one of my other stories. Okay, and we're back. Flash read through the things. So here's a story that I started as part of the Devoted Sister series. It's called Cowboy Ala Cart. And this story actually started with one scene. Um, a young woman's a baker. She's um, competing in a contest at a livestock show and rodeo. She gets um, as a fundraiser because her scholarship requires that she do volunteer work. And she's leaving one of the judging events, and this horse corners her. And she's terrified. She's never been this close to a horse before, and it's just standing there and it's like sniffing her and it's trying to get in her pocket. And she realized that in her apron pocket she's got an oatmeal cookie. So she gives the horse the oatmeal cookie in the hopes that she can get around the horse and get away. It's a cutting horse, so every time she steps in one direction, the horse steps in that direction. She steps the other way, the horse steps the other way. So she can't get away from this horse. And then she ends up kind of just like taking this horse back to the food truck that she's using to bake her cookies in. And the cowboy comes to get the horse, and they kind of have one of those instant, they don't fall in love, they fall in lust. But, you know, 20 somethings, it happens. So, in the Writing the Tree world, that was the idea for this story. So, in the Writing the Tree world, the first thing I did was create the characters. I created Meredith Dubois, who is the younger of two twins. She's determined, she's willful, but she's also kind of naive and impulsive. She wants to be a chef and have her own cafe in honor of her late Aunt Lainey. Um, and but more than anything else, she wants to get herself, her sister, and her cousin out of Vale Falls, where they grow up. And chasing her dream is more important than anything else. Um, so, um, then the next, I have to create the twin sister. The older twin is Charlene Dubois, and she goes by Char. She's jaded, she's distrustful, she's loyal and protective to a fault. The part of the backstory and the plotting starts to come out here. The reason Charlene is the way she is because her father, who is a police chief, allowed her molester to escape. And so she just kind of closed herself off from everyone except her sister and her cousin. And after high school, she joins the Navy to escape their small town. But after their parents' deaths, Meredith and Charlene have to go home. The next character I created was Colt King, who is the cowboy love interest and owner of the Cookie Holic horse. And he is chasing the World Cutting Horse Championship. And, he meets Chef Marie, and after a couple of days of the Vegas romance, they get married. And he wants her to drop out of culinary school and go live at his family's ranch in Texas. And she's like, "No, I'm not leaving here. I'm finishing school. I've got my volunteer work." And so they immediately start conflicting. Well, he goes to another competition, and when he comes back, he's like, "Okay, you need to go to, I'm going to take you to Texas, and then I'm going to leave." And she's like, "I'm not just going to sit on your family's ranch and do nothing for months at a time while you're gone. I have my own life." And they kind of just, they have this big falling out. And Colt's younger brother is Cody King, and Cody doesn't have his brother's skill on a horse, but he shares the family passion for ranch life and all of that. And so he helps, training the horses in the early stages, and then Colt takes over. So they kind of work hand in hand. But he's 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 playful to the point that it makes people, he thinks he's funnier than he is, and he's playful to the point that it makes some people hostile toward him, specifically Charlene. And but he's very good natured even when he's in over his head. He's just an all around good guy. Whereas Colt is this very, very like driven person. The next character I created was Katrina or Trina Dubois, and she is Char and Mary's cousin. She's Lainey's daughter, and um, let's see, she doesn't have any siblings. Um, Char and Mary's parents took her when her mother died unexpectedly, and it comes up later that she was murdered. Her death was not accidentally. And so when her mother, Trina is kind of a wild child. She was molested by the same person that molested her cousin, and she went, instead of withdrawing into her pain and just becoming, really hard and tough, and just standoffish to the world, she just kind of went nuts. She, and she was just this wild child to like hide her pain. And then her mother, it's they try to say it's a suicide, but um, Char and Trina saw the body and they know she was murdered. It was not a suicide, and she falls into this very deep depression, and she to leave. Um, Char and Mary get her to apply to nursing school, and literally they just leave. The three girls just leave Vale Falls and never come back after high school. And it seems like every time. And the thing with Trina is, they say, the truth will set you free. But for Trina, it just binds the chains to her past tighter that she's trying to escape. The harder she tries to get away from her past and what happened, and that, her mother's murder was passed off as an overdose, and and every piece of truth she knows just becomes another chain that's dragging her back to Vale Falls. So that's her personality. The last character I created was that has a character profile is Clay Robertson, which he went to high school with them. He was the son of the mayor and the brother of the school prom queen, beauty queen person, Heather. And she has Heather has some interesting issues. Heather, she is a person who has always been expected to be prim and proper, but she starts cracking. At, she was also molested as a child, um, and like the molester actually like almost killed her. And so she tries to be like normal, but she's extremely emotionally unstable. She's volatile. She has addiction issues. And Clay is her brother. And while he tries to protect her, he's kind of fallen into this codependent enabler role. And he's this very tormented young man because since he was 11, he's been keeping the secrets of his family and his town. Um, he was in love with a girl that before he ever got the chance to ask her out, he found out that she might actually be his half sister. And so, he's got issues with his dad. He's got issues with his mom, always them having to be perfect. And um, basically, his father and Mary and Char's dad, who is the sheriff, basically, Clay, his life was like, you will do this. And he ended up going to the law enforcement academy, not because he wanted to, but because he was told either you will be the judge, and become mayor like your dad, or you will become the next sheriff because the community must be protected. We have a reputation as a community protect. So after the sheriff, after Char and I started with one of the scenes. The scene that I wrote first was, and that those are my characters. So then I started with the scene. The story mainly follows Mary Dubois, but it goes to all these other people too. Um, the first scene that I wrote was the cookie horse scene. Um, the second scene that I wrote was the girls' last week of high school when Trina and Trina goes off to nursing school. Charlene joins the Navy, and Mary moves to Florida to go to culinary, or moves to Las Vegas to go to culinary school. I hadn't decided where, but I think I'm going to send her to Las Vegas. I have Las Vegas slash Florida. Oh, wait, no, there's another scene down here. Okay, so the third scene is them all leaving school. The fourth scene, it looks like Mary gets involved with a fellow student in Florida who's not what he's seen. She transfers schools and goes to Las Vegas to get away from her stalker. Um, the next scene is the parents of Char and Mary die in a car accident with their little brother. Um, the next scene that I wrote is, let's see, where's that? Mary tries to call Colt to tell him to come home or come back to Vegas because she has to go to Vail Falls. And a girl answers the phone and is Mary just gets mad and she sends him divorce paper, and then she her professor, her culinary chef, goes ahead and gives her certificate of graduation, so she's got her culinary degree, and she just goes home to deal with the family estate. While she is up there at home, Trina has come home and Char has come home, and while they're there, Mary faints and she's developed pregnancy diabetes. And so she decides to go live with Char in California at the naval base until her baby's born. But Trina contacts Colt because of the gravid diabetes. Mary goes for a walk one day, she collapses, and she wakes up with Colt at the hospital. Then I have Colt Jr. is being born. The Kings come up to visit. Char comes from Hawaii. The next scene is the children of Vale Falls discover the truth of the conspiracy. Then I have a skip. Becky, Carl, and little brother are murdered because Carl is talking to the Bureau of Investigations since his daughters are safe from the corruption in Vale Falls, and he's retiring. He is going to try to bring state's evidence against the Robertsons and Becky because he knows that she murdered that either Elizabeth or Lane murdered the pedophile that was the developer that molested all the girls. There's a scene, jump back in time. The developer comes to Vale Falls at Elizabeth Robertson's invite. Turns out he's a con artist looking for victims. The next scene I have written down, Heather overhears Clay confront his parents. After he leaves, she attacks their mother because she's the one who brought Winston to Vale Falls. In the struggle, she shoots her father by mistake and then crashes her car fleeing. Elizabeth is arrested and confesses to hiring someone to kill Lainey and then Carl, Becky, and Charlie to preserve the family and town's reputation. The next scene, I have several scenes written in here about moving back to Vale Falls, moving to the house. Mary buys the local bistro. They meet with the lawyer for their dead parents and find out they cannot sell the house for 5 more. There's a stipulation that they have to live in the house for 5 years if something happens to them. Let's see. Colt is remodeling the nursery for the baby and discovers a journal kept by Becky that tells part of what happened. They go looking through the house and find more journals hidden throughout the house and begin to put together a timeline for what actually happened when they were children. Mary and Trina confront Clay, and Clay reveals that his mother was scared of going to prison, determined to protect the town's reputation, and made him keep the secrets to protect his sister, who is now dead. And let's see, the baby is born. Colt Jr. is born. Brothers visiting from Texas is the next scene. Under the Big Sky Ranch, evidently I wrote a scene about them going back to Texas, and Mary is uncomfortable under the wide open sky as Clay is uncomfortable, or Colt is uncomfortable in the confines of the narrow valley where Vale Falls is. And the last scene is, that's it. That's all I've gotten plotted out. So those are scenes, and now I need to go back through and like put that in order and try to get all the scenes arranged and everything, which I haven't done yet. I haven't done the rest of it. But I just have like little sections. How many words is that? I just have all these little sections. The word counts. Each little section is less than 100 words for the different chapters, for the just different scenes. And that's how far I've gotten in the writing the tree plotting. I just need to, below where I have all those little snippets, I have the plot in order as it would run in the book. And then I need to write this book. So, but that's how the writing the tree, that's how I apply it to my writing style is, and quirky scenes. I've got a scene where the horse like breaks into the house. They have the horse the horse's name is Sinner Sam I Am, which is actually a real cutting horse champion. And they've got him in the garage because they don't have a stable at their parents' house. They're having Colt is building one, and the horse gets the door open between the garage and the garage entry, and goes into the kitchen where Mary had been baking, and she went to answer the phone, and she comes back, and the horse is in her kitchen. And that's like one of the scenes that I wrote. And then like another scene that is in there is when the twins, Mary and Meredith and Charlene, are reading through their alcoholic mother's diary. Basically, their mother was like compulsively, and there's pages missing, and they can't figure. They're like, where are these pages? There's pages missing. There's just ripped out. And There's a scene where they find a wall safe, and it's their father's wall safe, and they can't get it open. And Cody's the one who gets it open. He basically drills into the safe, and they get the safe open, this old wall safe, and it's their father. It's a safe they didn't know their father had, and it's got all the police reports from when the girls were molested, all the police reports on this Winston Winslow, who was a con artist and a thief and a serial molester and just a monster. And it tells how Elizabeth and Laney killed him, and that they covered it up, that the mayor and the sheriff covered it up. The sheriff did it to save his sister. The mayor did it to save his wife. And and it's an interesting look on how that works. And the world build, I had the notes that I have in here is imagine Vale attitudes in Telluride. So if you've ever like Googled a picture of like Telluride, Colorado, imagine that valley. And that's pretty much how I apply the writing the tree to everything I write. And and like another series I wrote that I'm publishing right now, the Huntsman series just got published, and I'm working on Relic of Time and Shadows. That series was I did the same thing. I created the characters like in um the first series. I knew I was going to have the Daisy character coming in, but she wasn't in the first two books. Um, she didn't exist in the first two books. So, but I knew I was going to have her eventually because I created her character for that world. I've got um like a bunch of different immortal characters created, and some of them they don't come in until what the third, fourth, fifth books of the main series. And like there's two scenes that are in the very last two books of the series. Like it's 1.2 million words, and these books are literally from the first Relic of Time and Shadows to the last one. It books because I'm redividing the series. I don't know which to tell you what book is, but there's like 600,000 words, 500, 600,000 words between when I started and a scene that I wrote about the the death of one of the character's fathers. And then there's another 100,000 years for the last battle. But the death scene of this one character and the last battle scene, I actually wrote those when I was writing the first book. I didn't realize how much I would have filled in between there, but as I was writing scenes and throwing out everything, I was like, well, this would belong here and this. And I ended up like plotting out like 5 books before I started writing the first one because I had scenes written and characters written and just that fit that it just kept getting longer and longer, and so and that's just the way my brain works because and my need to put things in order and to put filler in order that like I have scenes that are like you'll literally like if you're reading my outlines of something it'll be like insert chapter here, insert slice of life chapter here, insert conflict with these two characters here, and then it'll be like 100 words. This chapter is this. This chapter is this event, this event, this event, this event, this event, and and then I'll have places to. So I'm plotting, but I'm also leaving places to pants. So one, so I don't get bored, but it's also so I can bring new things into the story, new elements, and like take elements out, and then I fix it all in editing. I go cut things out, move things around. Really bad, and that's how it works. That's how writing the tree works for me, and I've been pretty successful at it. The only time I haven't made nano in the last 4.5 years was when I caught COVID. And instead of writing, I did a bunch of editing. Um, I hope this helps someone. I mean, it's just an idea, it's just a start. And I hope that, your writing journey goes well, because there is no right way to write. There is no perfect, proper way to, what do I want to say? There's no perfect way to write a novel. There's no absolute. You can't, you can't just, you need to find the method that works for you. It needs to work for your neuroses. It needs to work for your tics. It needs to work for the way your creativity flows. My creativity comes out of me like a caffeinated hummingbird in a meadow full of flowers, just everywhere. Or the other metaphor I use is a cactus drunk jackrabbit hopping around on a full moon, because it's everywhere. And then, because I'm a very put things in their place person, then I have to put it all together. And then I have to start writing it, because I have this obsessive compulsive need to finish a project once I start it. So, thank you for watching, and be blessed, not bitter, or be better, not bitter, and be blessed. And I will see you on the 19th for the Huntsman's Horror launch. Bye.